Hi guys, there's something I've noticed since Assassin's Creed Mirage was released last week, and I just wanted to take some time to talk about it. Mirage's release has been Ubisoft's most successful launch of any title for this current generation's console platforms. If you don't believe me, look at this Twitter post from Ubisoft themselves. Though that may be marketing, I doubt it. If you're looking at the general player base's reaction to the game, it's mostly positive. Mirage feels like the nostalgic return to roots, being more story-driven and focusing on the Assassin's Brotherhood, or rather their precursors, the Hidden Ones. Ubisoft Bordeaux really outdid themselves with this one. They captured the essence of the older games, even while using Valhalla's engine to do it. Rightfully so, many have been praising them for the work and are hoping for the smaller studio to get more time and budget to create a fully fledged AC game that doesn't start as DLC for another. They also see Mirage as being a sign that Assassin's Creed will 100% be returning to the old formula and restored to its previous glory. That's where I think some people are setting themselves up for disappointment. And I don't mean that in the sense of no Assassin's Creed game will ever be as good as the old ones again. Though I can't speak to the conversations that happen behind closed doors, Mirage feels like a small experiment. It feels like Ubisoft's testing the waters of whether or not fans of the older games weren't buying the newer games simply due to rose-tinted glasses of Altair, Ezio, and their story, or because they were truly fans of the gameplay and mechanics of the older games. At its heart, the player base is split three ways. Some players like myself, who are bigger fans of the often ignored stealth genre, want Assassin's Creed to return to the old ways in terms of gameplay, while modernizing them and offering further opportunities to make it interesting, while still emphasizing stealth. There are some players that grew up on the older games, though they see those original games as being completely dated and representative of another time in the gaming industry, where they were simply fringe games that could only be successful in that era, and see the RPG elements as a welcome change to a tired old formula. And then we have the newer player base, who see Assassin's Creed through the lens they were introduced to begin with, through the eyes of Bayek, Cassandra, or Alexios, and Ivor. They understand Assassin's Creed as an open-world RPG-style game that's set in historical settings but is characterized by gameplay and locations more than it is about story. No one player base is wrong to think the way they do, but the changing of genres and direction of Assassin's Creed has led to many players being alienated by the vision for each iteration. So if you're in Ubisoft's shoes, what would you do? After Syndicate was released to lukewarm reception, Ubisoft had to make a decision for how to move forward with the franchise, which would lead to the more RPG-based Assassin's Creed Origins, which was successful and offered something fresh to the franchise. But, over time, as the story moved away from its origins, I'm looking at you Valhalla, more and more players, new and old alike, began to lose interest in these games, and they began to receive various negative reviews, and general talk from the community became overtly negative. Ubisoft's a business. Though the studios and the devs themselves will often try to deliver the best game they can, they're also victims to being full-time employees that have to deliver financially beneficial games if they want to hold on to their jobs. They don't make the decisions for every game in the franchise, and the last thing Ubisoft wants to do is alienate fans of the newer RPG games in order to please the older players. Nor do they want to ignore the fans of the older games in favor of the newer player base. And that's where we're at now. Mirage and its success doesn't mean the next Assassin's Creed games that come out are going to be exactly like Mirage. Different studios work on these different games. The direction for each game is typically up to the studio, and the next Assassin's Creed game to come out, Assassin's Creed Red set in Japan, has already been under development before Mirage got released. That means they didn't know if Mirage would flop or pull in numbers, and thus it's more likely going to be nothing like Mirage. Early reports already say it's going to focus on the RPG elements, mimicking that of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. So going forward, the studio will most likely not decide to go in one single direction for these games, because they're now in the impossible position of trying to appease a split player base. What I expect to happen if they decide to embrace what the older fans want, which is highly likely as a result of Mirage's unit sales, is that Ubisoft starts alternating between the different types of games, having different studios delivering the RPG-style games, and other studios focusing on the assassin power fantasy and the Brotherhood themselves. Whether or not that works out, or if it will simply split the player base further, remains to be seen. But with the launch of Assassin's Creed Infinite, I have a feeling that's the direction they're going to go in. All in all, as an old player, Mirage has given me some hope that will return to what I found so fascinating in these games, the assassins themselves and the well thought out story involving both the modern day and how the actions of the past matter for the player in the future. That's it for my thoughts. As always, if you want to help out, drop a subscribe and click on the bell icon. I'm Epic, and I'll see you next time.